Welcome back to another episode of Dungeon Hammer, brought to you by One Mind Syndicate. I am your host, Gershwin, and I'm here with my two co-hosts.
Docile Creature.
And the Sound Alchemist.
And today we're going to be talking about how to create magical items in Dungeons & Dragons 5e. Now, the person that has the most experience creating magical items is the one person wearing a blue hat today.
Yep.
You guys can't see it, but it's blue.
It's plus one hat of blueness. It gives me plus one charisma.
But you said it was black earlier.
Well, that's the thing. Sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's black. It's magic. So it depends on when you look at. Like, what is it right now?
Blue.
It's stupid.
Plus one. It's worth it.
How do you go about creating a magical item such as the one you're wearing right now?
So, okay. How I create magic items is I usually...
We didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I kind of tend to... and this is probably a bad thing, but I tend to tailor them. Like, I make rewards specifically for players. Or... It's either that or broad utility items so that the whole group can use them and it doesn't really matter who gets them.
Mm.
So if the archer, if I'm making a magic item for an archer, it's going to be obvious. And if I'm making one for the barbarian, it's going to be like a cool sword or something like that. How I make them, I kind of tend to shore up or try to shore up the character's weaknesses a little at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So if the barbarian is having trouble with his AC, give him something to deal with that. If the archer runs out of arrows a lot, give him a certain special arrows or something like that. So that's where I start.
So your method is very like tailored towards the player and their specific goals. How much communication do you have with the specific player for the item? Like, how much do you let them know while you're creating the item?
0.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't really like... I don't like, hey, what kind of magic item do you want? And then I'll make it in the game. That doesn't feel very natural to me, so I don't necessarily do that.
Okay.
What if that's like their one thing that's like grounding the character? Like, yeah, I'm a barbarian, but the thing that doesn't make me overpowered is having low AC.
Yeah, that's why I would say do it a little at a time. So you're not necessarily just making this character super overpowered.
Mm-hmm.
I get what you're saying. You definitely got to be careful with it. And some weaknesses are there on purpose, and they're meant to be part of the class. So you don't want to completely subvert that.
Yeah. So basically, you're saying as a DM, you really want to focus on what the player is lacking, not just in combat, but also outside of combat, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I feel like when we say magical items, what I usually think about is like, oh, a powerful sword, or I've got like this awesome bow. It's always a weapon, but it could be so much more than that, right?
Yeah, definitely. It can be a pair of glasses. It could be a cool blue-black hat of plus one charisma and stupidness, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it can be a lot of different... Anything can have magic attached to it. It could even just be kind of like a boon that you get as a person, and not necessarily a physical item.
Mm-hmm. Just like an essence or like a chakra.
Yeah.
Like in Naruto.
But so when you create these magic items, are they like centerpieces to the story, or are they just there to embellish it, or do you throw out magic items willy-nilly?
All three. It just depends on the story that you're trying to tell. Sometimes it revolves around a magic item like Lord of the Rings, and sometimes it's just kind of like something they stumble across.
Mm-hmm.
You can do all those things, and I do all of those things.
Yeah. It's really important also to take, like, kind of what you just said with when you connected it to Lord of the Rings. It's also important to take things from, like, popular media or, like, fantasy and sci-fi stories and then use that as, like, a jump-off point to create magical items. That's what I did when I created my stuff for my campaign. I watched the Pan's Labyrinth, and one of like the opening scenes is the little girl from Pan's Labyrinth. Like, she goes off into the woods and she finds this little stone, and it turns out that the stone has like magical properties, and it like summons the Pan. What's the other word for
the
Pan?
satyr?
Yeah, the satyr. So it summons that thing, and that I had that idea in my mind, and I was like, I want to create that based on that story. I didn't take you guys into account, like your individual characters. because when I create magical items, I usually try to hook it to the narrative, and it ended up becoming like a speaking stone. So like almost like a cell phone where you can speak to it, and then the other person with that same stone has access to it. They could also hear. Well, actually, no. You guys didn't get the speaking stone. You guys got like a stone that
teleport kind of thing.
Yeah. But like that's my thing. Like I always try to make something that the party can use. That just sounds like something cool that anybody could use. Because the other fun part about creating a magical item when you're not tailoring it to a specific stat or person is that the person who gets it ends up using it in a really strange and cool way that you didn't think about. In that situation, the Sound Alchemist was playing some chick, and you used
furry.
it. Yeah, you basically use that to teleport the tentacles of a roper, and it was just slicing the roper's tentacles off. So I never even thought that like somebody would try to use it against an enemy, and the fact that you did was like, oh wow, that's pretty awesome. So that's my method of creating a magical item. Use something that anybody can use, and then just see how they use it.
Yeah, because it's really fun where you just like present the magical item. Like let's say for example, it is like a sword in the stone, and your party comes up to it. It's like, well, who's gonna get it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because in pop culture, it's usually the story revolves around one person, and that's kind of the flaw in translating that directly to D&D because you have 4 or 5 heroes. Protagonists.
How do you go around that problem then? Like if you do create a specific magical item for someone and then somebody else takes it in the party, do you try to correct it?
No, and it's funny because that happened. They found a Mace of Light, and this mace was like super heavy, and only the cleric in the party was able to wield it without a -1 modifier, and that didn't change anything. The bard was still swinging this mace at a -1 to hit, even though it wasn't like meant for her, and she's just like, "Oh, I got this cool mace, let me use it," and it's like. It took like 3 sessions before finally they're like, okay, it seems that you can wield the mace, so here you go.
Wow.
It happens. You can't be too. You can't. I don't think you should like intervene and be like, "This was meant for you.
Right,
you get this toy. You get that toy.
Yeah.
Quit playing with each other's toys." If it happens, you just kind of got to roll with it. It's their story. They got to figure out how to dole out the magic items.
And sometimes like that deficit doesn't seem that big in the eyes of the person that's using it. Yeah. Maybe they always wanted to use a mace, and this is their one chance at it. Yeah. And that -1, they could live with it as long as they get to envision their character using that item.
Yeah. Other than, because it seems that whenever you think of magical items, like you guys were saying, you definitely think of a sword. You always think of something that's good in close combat, that's going to boost your combat abilities. But outside of that, like if you were to create a magical item for a more role-playing aspect, how would you guys go about doing that?
Well, I did that, and they never really used that item because it wasn't a weapon of sorts. Those were the beads of Buddha.
I did use that.
Barely.
Have you?
Yeah,
I used it last
you used
time.
it when you first got it, and you used it the latest one where you remembered you had it.
Yeah,
but didn't remember what it did.
Yeah. It's like,
no, but I got it right.
this.
I got it right.
Yeah.
In my defense, though, we haven't played that campaign that long.
That's true.
And I don't think that's really for charisma, though. Or, sorry, I do think that the beads were... You didn't mean for the beads to be in combat?
At first, no. I thought it was just going to be like a utility thing where it's like, oh, I can't get this thing that's way over there. So the beads would be like a... They essentially make like a wind tunnel that draws everything in.
Force pull.
Okay. Yeah.
See, when I got the beads, I really just wanted to shove them up my...
I mean, who wouldn't, right? That's everybody's first...
It sucks, right?
Yeah.
Which direction, though?
You always want to start smallest to biggest.
Okay. So... Other than that, though, how would you affect the role-playing aspect? Is there any in-game mechanics that make people more charismatic, other than just boosting your charisma score, that you guys have come across?
That's a hard one, because whenever I think of that, it's like, oh, you get like the brooch of charisma that gives you a +1 to charisma, but it's like, how, why?
Okay, yeah, because
charisma is kind of abstract that way, and that it's not really like something that you can say, oh, this is what makes you charismatic.
Your hat makes you charismatic.
That's true.
People are more likely to come up to you and start a conversation because you have that nice hat.
Especially that little dot on the top of the hat.
Little button thing.
I wanted to push it earlier, but that's like that's like a baby soft spot, right? You're not supposed to touch that.
Definitely not. I got a soft spot still. I never developed completely.
On your head.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I've always thought about, like, affecting role playing, would be creating a magical item that allows you to kind of bend time a little bit. So, like, if you interact with, like, a certain shopkeeper and you give him your story and he doesn't like the story and he's like mean towards the party or towards you, then you have that magical item to, like, reverse it, like, kind of mind wipe him, and then just, like, start over. Yeah, start over. Talk to him differently. Don't
kind of
be
like
an
the
asshole.
Lucky Feet.
No, not like the Lucky Feet, because it doesn't affect any dice rolls.
Or like the next movie, except for just for conversations. I've seen that one with Nicolas Cage. When he can like live a little bit in the future, live out all possibilities.
Oh yeah. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's really the only thing that I've come up with that doesn't just affect combat.
That would be cool. I like that idea.
Thank you. Your hat makes it better.
Of course.
Now, when you guys are giving out these special weapons, like, how do you, like I know you mentioned earlier where narrative, it would have to make sense, but, like, does it take away the epicness if they're just walking down the street and they see something shiny in the road and it's, like, a device that lets them time travel?
No. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that that actually adds to the coolness of it. It's like, oh, we were walking, and of course you have to give the party the option to even interact with whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little girl that you guys ended up finding in in an invisible cage once, and if you guys wouldn't have interacted with that one weird guy that I created that actually captured the little girl, you guys would have never found her. So I do think you need to have some type of challenge for the party to get the magical item. I don't think that they should just find it, like, on the ground,
or at least set up some kind of atmosphere.
Yeah,
that makes sense for that magic item. Like, for example, I did something similar to this where they're just kind of walking, and they found a corpse or something, and they went to investigate, and there were some zombies just, like, kind of walking around, and they killed them, and they found this shovel that somebody was digging a grave. And they would find out that the shovel's magical and it creates zombies and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of brings me to the next point. Something that I'd love to do for magic items is make cursed magic items.
Yes.
Because this magic item was cursed, and you had to like kill people and bury them underground. They would come back as a zombie, and once you and I guess another way to do magic items is magic items that level up.
Mm-hmm.
So the more corpses or people that they killed and buried underground with a shovel, it would unlock new powers within this shovel, this cursed shovel. But the shovel would, like, whisper into the character's mind and, like, drive them crazy and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's a lot of things too that you could implement into a magical item. Like, one thing that, like, I picked up that you didn't mention was, like, the fact that you are really changing the narrative of your player. Mm-hmm. Like, you're basically saying, okay, if you are obvious, I'm guessing that person was a good person. Like, yeah, and now it's like you have to commit evil deeds.
Yep.
How do you feel about that? So magical items can, like, be a good way to move people and change their what is that thing?
Alignment. Move them along some sort of story arc.
Yeah. How would you guys feel about having a magical item that acts as a person? So
a sentience.
Communicate.
That'd be really cool.
They're a thing in the book. Like, there's ways to get them and make them. That's kind of what the shovel was, but it was more like evil and maniacal.
Was it like bound, like a demon was bound in there or something, or no?
I don't know, because people from my campaign might listen to this, and I don't want to tell any secrets, but there's definitely something going on there. Some secrets that have not been uncovered. But yeah, it's kind of cool.
Some secrets that still need to be dug up.
Haha! Blue hat.
I just noticed, are you wearing a blue shirt or a black shirt?
It's blue.
Wait, does your hat change the color of other people's things?
Magic.
Oh, fun.
It's a pretty great magic item. I'm just saying. It whispers into my head and turns me insane, but...
What does the voice sound like?
I gotta translate it in my own head.
I'm not even gonna say what I was gonna say, but
What is the hat doing?
Don't ask questions, right? Just let the hat do its thing.
To your head.
Oh
so
boy.
do you control the magical item's voice? I mean, you kind of have to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you would have to. And it's just something that it's like a little NPC that can't walk away, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So it can just be prepared for that. Like if your players start asking the thing questions,
Mm-hmm.
just give it a personality. Make sure it's not like just you speaking.
Yeah.
Make it either work for or against the player, depending on what. Because you can give like the magic item an alignment too, and if they're
true.
chaotic evil and the player wielding it is more chaotic good, then they can kind of butt heads, or maybe the sword kind of like turns in the person's hand if they're not kind of aligned, or what you're doing doesn't please the sword or whatever.
Yeah.
And it can kind of work against the player if it's who's swinging it.
So it's a buff
you're
and
grabbing
a
my
curse.
shaft too hard.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it's a super powerful sword, but you can only do evil things with it.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
That's
So
cool.
So you do definitely have to think of it's the same way as creating an NPC then,
Yeah.
as creating this magic item, which is a podcast that we created. So if you guys want to check did we say how to create an NPC? Yeah.
Mhm.
So plug.
Boom.
At what point does a regular item become a magic item in your eyes?
Usually when it can do something that it can't normally do, right?
Yeah, something supernatural or...
Because like there is an ability where you can pick up a rock and throw it and like infuse magic to it, making that rock a magical
Oh yeah.
weapon or whatever.
Yeah. But that's really more towards damage, right?
Yeah, to overcome like certain resistances.
Yeah.
Mhm. And just infusing it with magic, narratively. You're putting magic in this rock and throwing it at it. That's kind of... I mean, once the spoon can bend reality, then it's magical. It's no longer
But
a
if
spoon.
the spoon laughs every time you touch it, that's not magic.
Yeah, because that's not a thing that the spoon usually does.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Oh,
It's not normal for spoons.
Okay.
Unless it's a spoon from Beauty and the Beast, which is a topic that we talked about last podcast.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast.
So you're saying all the things in Beauty and the Beast were magical items?
Yeah.
No.
For sure.
No, not all of them.
Well, all
were
the
some
ones
that
that
were
came
regular.
alive and had like sentience, yes.
I think there was a rug, right?
No, it's Aladdin.
Oh, okay, never mind that.
That was a carpet,
No.
right? Not a rug.
Um,
Simpletons.
something that you could do as a DM though, when it comes to magical items, and since you guys were talking about like things that don't really normally are magical items, turning them into magical items, we had a campaign where we had a chicken, and the chicken would follow us around. It would have been badass if at some point that chicken became magical. So when when you're running a session with a group, and the group somehow forms a bond to a specific item, take that as an advantage to make it a magical item. Don't just say like, oh, all of a sudden it becomes a magical item. Be narratively, make it narratively interesting, or that it makes sense. But use those opportunities, because sometimes I think we all know that parties kind of focus on certain things that you never thought as while you were building it that they would focus on. So having a cool spoon that the Sound Alchemist character liked, I would make that spoon into a talking spoon.
That
since
laughs
he
when you
mentioned
touch it.
Yeah. So yeah, keep that in mind.
When you're making a magic weapon, do you usually homebrew it or do you pick it out from like the books?
I always have homebrewed because I don't really read the Dungeon Master's Guide unless I'm using the bathroom and it's in there.
I do both. I think most of the time I'd like to homebrew because
Or is
I'm
it
trying to
like-
make it fit something specific
Yeah.
that's not in the book. But sometimes you just flipping through and you're like, I want to give my characters an immovable rod. And then, wow, they do things that you'd never expect. And then it's just like a super awesome magic item. And now I love immovable rods.
I think when you gave us that item,
Mm-hmm.
it was awesome. Like
It's-
I
yeah.
thought like we didn't really use it much,
Right.
but like I think it's an awesome concept.
Yeah, you can do a lot with that.
Mhm.
Yes, for sure.
And it was black too, right? The
Mhm.
rod.
Yep.
You can't really. There's no
With-
problem
with
that
ridges,
you can't
too.
fix with
Yeah,
that.
we couldn't go back from that.
Nope.
With a thick black rod.
For sure. And it doesn't move, so you got to move.
Yeah.
So it doesn't get soft. You're saying like it's always hard.
Always, yeah.
No rubbing or nothing.
Nope.
It's just. Was there a button that you pressed?
To make it not move, yeah.
I thought you like twisted it and like it stopped.
Reverse Indian burn.
Mm-hmm.
Pulling up. Sorry.
Yeah, because even something as at first when you hear, oh, you get a rod, an immovable rod, doesn't sound that cool.
Yeah, it doesn't, it's super underwhelming. Like,
Yeah.
what am I going to do with this? It stays in place. Big deal.
Yeah.
When you actually think about different situations where you can use it, it's very good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it is good to pick a magical item from the book then.
Yeah, it can definitely help. And the immovable rod also shows how simple a thing can be, but still be really good, or still be used in a bunch of different ways. Just a rod that you can set it in the air somewhere and it doesn't move. It's like we said, it seems like it's not super flashy. It's not really going to be that useful, but it's the more you think about it, the more situations that it comes up. Just when you're creating your own magic items, you don't have to go too deep and don't have to make it too powerful to make it memorable and exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
And also, when you're creating magical items, kind of think about what scale you want it to be. Do you want it to be the laughing spoon that when you touch it, it laughs? The helm that makes your eyes glow red, but nothing really else? Or do you want it to be this world-shaping item, like Lord of the Rings kind of thing? In reality, that was a ring of invisibility that was cursed, with the Eye of Sauron and the ring wraiths and all of that. But it was huge in that story. Like, they had to make this huge journey and throw it into a pit, otherwise, and world-ending stuff would happen.
Right.
But so just keep in mind the scale and what you want your magic items to be. And if you make it too big, it could have a huge impact on your game that you didn't expect.
Yeah, because if you give somebody something game-breaking, level 1, it's going to make it seem like every other thing they get isn't as badass. Yeah, it's very underwhelming.
But don't overthink it either, because sometimes something that you think might be really game breaking turns out that the party doesn't even use.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of the items that we've gotten in our campaign.
Yeah, they just kind of sit in storage.
Yeah.
A bag of holding.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I like level up items. So you can kind of start low and it can get better as you grow. You kind of got to figure out your own narrative way to flavor how these items level up. It could be goal, like achievements that you have to unlock with this weapon or something like that. But that way, because I like to give my players one iconic item, one that kind of like Captain America's shield or Thor's hammer or stuff like that. That these characters are like, they go hand in hand. Like when you see Thor, you think of his hammer, Captain America's shield, all that. Iron Man, his suit of armor. So I like to give my characters items like that are like, this is so and so, he has an awesome quiver. This is so and so, he has an awesome shovel or whatever. And it's kind of, those are the items I think that should level up. That shouldn't become obsolete eventually when they get the next shiny magical sword.
But how do you know that character really wants to associate themselves with that item? Like, for example, you said that you like to essentially round out the edges that are kind of rough in your players. So, for example, going with that AC thing for the barbarian, what if you give him like a suit of armor that, mitigates the AC and it helps it out some way somehow? And what if they don't want to use that? And that's going to be the magic item that you were going to level up. Do you just never tell them about the level up? Or do you tell them right off the bat that this levels up?
This kind of happened to me in a way where I gave my character thought up this cool, like it was sentimental to him, his staff. He was a druid and he had the staff that was carved with all these runes and stuff. And then slowly there was like little vines that were growing out of it, and I was going to level it up and make it. Eventually, it was going to become a book, magic item in the book called some druid staff. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but it had this really awesome powers. He could turn into like a tree person and stuff like that. But then he just kind of didn't want to play that character anymore, and he left it, and it never happened. Like the level up didn't happen because his character is gone. And if you give a player a level up item and they don't know about it and they don't use it, or they don't want to play the character or whatever, you can either switch the level up item to something else, because if they don't know about it, then it doesn't really hurt to.
But what if they
change
knew
something
about
else.
it, they would have kept using it? to see what other, like, do you tell them, hey, at this level, this is what happened. At this level, this
No.
happens.
I let it come out narratively in the
Naturally.
story,
Mhm.
unless they use like detect or identify or detect magic spells. Then I give them a little bit, like
Mhm.
if you do something, some blah 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 will happen, or you have to do a certain amount of things. I won't tell them exactly what they have to do. To tell them that they have to do something to
To get
unlock
it.
the full potential of this item.
Yeah, almost making it like a puzzle.
Yeah.
That they have to solve.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, kind of like your shovel. Like, maybe it'll start becoming good if they bury celestials or something
Sure.
like that.
Yep. Stuff that they got to kind of explore in the game, and it kind of adds to the story.
That's pretty cool.
And also have fun with it and build the upgrades as you go along too. You don't necessarily have to create the entire story of the
Yeah.
magical item. Especially if because I mean that might be something that you never thought of. Like, what if your party just starts sparing celestials? Then you have to be like, they expect something to happen.
Yep.
And as a DM, I think it's your obligation to be like, well, let's see what I can do. Yeah, that's cool though. You guys came up with some cool magical items. I wish I had them in my D&D sessions. Oh wait, no, I did. I had the beads, right?
You did have the beads.
Now you just got to get them out of there to use them again.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough. Quarantine got me clenched.
What would you say is your favorite magic item that you've seen or used? All of you guys.
Oh, that's a tough one. I think because whenever I think of magical items, and I think of like how they can be an entire narrative arc all on their own. So I always come back. I've never played these, but I know of them, and they're in the book, and that is the tarot cards. What are they called?
Oh,
The
Deck of Many Things.
Yeah, the deck of many things. That seems like something that's just like an entire month of just like fun.
yeah.
Of like of
if it lasts that
fun.
long.
Yeah.
Could last one card pull, and that's it. That's the end.
So creating a magical item that allows you to just explore this magical item for a while would be kind of cool. Because it would be cool to have, because you know how they have the bag of holding. It would be cool to have like a bag of holding, but inside of it, like your party can actually go inside of it. And then all of a sudden it becomes an Alice in Wonderland type of situation where it's like an entire world in this bag. And it becomes an entire story arc on the hook of just that magical item.
There's something similar to that in the Critical Role series.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you should check it out.
They go inside a bag.
Not a bag, but it's like something like a little
Person?
orb.
They go inside a person?
They go inside, and there's like a whole,
They go inside them first.
whole mini dungeon in there. It's like they go into another plane inside of this orb, and
What's it called?
what, the orb?
Yeah.
They call it the Happy Fun Ball.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what about you guys then?
Bouncing off of yours, there's this magical item. It might not even be a magical item. It might just be like a bag of holding that you don't know what's inside. This was like a bag of holding from like a wizard, and you can reach in there, and whatever you grab out is what you're using for that battle or for that duration.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's essentially like I think it's a
Dice roll.
Yeah, it's a D100. So there's 100 things in there, and you cross off, whatever you use.
That's cool. That sounds like fun. That's a very like orcish type of rule.
Very
It's
chaotic.
random.
You could pull out a chicken, or you could pull out a one-shot.
Pull out a chicken.
That does remind me of like how important mystery is in a magical item. There was, I think, in one of the sessions one of the campaigns that we all were players in, the DM created a box, and it sounded like there were spiders inside of it.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yep.
It was a completely sealed box, and you could hear like spiders or something.
There's a mystery to that magical item that just sounds so badass. Like, what do the spiders do? Why did they get there? How did they get there?
Should I open this can of spiders,
Yeah.
or should I? I don't know what's gonna happen if I do.
So having that mystery is kind of cool.
Yeah. It's hard. There's so many. This is going to be my answer for today, but it might change within an hour. But I made this magical item that's like a puzzle box, and you had to know certain languages to read what you had to do, and then you had to put an item inside the puzzle box in order to get it to open up. And there's like a shifting shape in the center that you put things in. The first one was like an arcane focus, and then something like it was like magic based. So then it was a holy symbol, but then they had to do like a piece of a demon or a piece of an angel, and first they had to read Draconic for Arcana, Celestial, just stuff like that. And if they opened it up, they would get something awesome. They never opened it up because that campaign ended, unfortunately. But I just really like that how it implemented knowing languages, like going out and getting things, and or that they didn't necessarily know what they had to get until they could read the languages and kind of give them hints. I put like a riddle basically that they had to. Okay, this is kind of. I think this is what I have to put in the thing, and then they have to trial and error kind of try to open this box.
That's really cool.
Unfortunately, they didn't open it because
not even once.
Well, they got to the part where they had to kill or put a piece of a demon in, I think, or an angel. But that's as far as they got.
Did you create that magical item?
Yeah.
Okay. When you are doing that, do you ever consider like maybe shortening the amount of time that they have to dedicate towards like opening the box?
I knew what was in the box, so I didn't. No, I didn't want to do that. I guess I could probably say what it was going to be. Basically, a wish spell.
Oh, cool.
Inside, like one wish spell. So I like that. That's potentially game breaking. So I wanted it to take them a while in order to open this box and try to figure it out.
So you were the DM for that session,
yeah,
right? Or for that campaign. If they use the wish spell to be able to use the lucky feat, would you allow that?
Yeah, if they rolled, I think they have to do a roll for like reality bending things. But yeah, sure.
Interesting.
Yeah. Get around my ban of the lucky feet? Sure, why not? It's the wish spell. It's the best spell in the game. Or it's the most powerful spell in the game, not the best spell. Because we all know counterspell is the best spell in the game.
I wish for no counterspells.
No! That's my hell. But yeah, that's probably my favorite magic item I've come across.
So many elements that you can add to these magical items.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's the key, right?
Yeah. Or maybe the key all along was friendship.
That was the magic item.
I thought it was his hat.
It is. His hat is made out of friendship.
But I'm making you guys believe it's the friendship because my hat's controlling your brains.
So it fucks with your charisma? Nice.
It just makes you guys think I'm more charismatic. It doesn't actually give me a charisma boost.
But that does, though.
Because if we think you're charismatic, then you're charismatic.
Does it, though? But it doesn't change me, it changes you.
He's so quirky. Oh, my God.
Does it?
Was that like a thirst? Like...
Yeah, it's like a fangirl. That's my fangirl. Like, if I were ever to roleplay a fangirl, that's how to be like, oh, my God, look at you.
Oh, my God.
He's so quirky.
Let me blow you up.
Get them beads out.
Comment down in the comment section below and let us know what magical items you guys have used. And how you guys go about creating your own magical items. How sexual would you make them?
Very.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Stat out my blue hat or black hat.
What?
In the comments. Stat out my black or blue hat.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Create your own.
I still don't know what he said, but yeah, in the comments.
Stat it out. Give it stats.
Oh, stats.
Yeah, for beginners, that means like build the magical item. The docile creature's blue and black hat. Is it a hat or is it a...
It's a cap.
It's a cap. Right? The blue and black cap. What if it... Never mind. Thanks for listening, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to learn more about the magical hat. And, yeah. This was Gershwan.
Docile creature.
And the Sound Alchemist, and we are out of here.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.